Good morning, YouTube. I wanted to post a dream that I had last night. The dream was really vivid and I wrote it down, but I still remember it. I can still see it in my mind, so I'm just going to share with you what I saw. Okay, the dream started where I was standing in this long hallway. It was a wide hallway. And I noticed that in the hallway there were these doors towards my right, and there was this huge door in front of me, as well as this huge door behind me. And I noticed that there was this like singing going on, and it reminded me of the singing that you would hear at a funeral. And when I looked behind me, at the doors that were behind me, they were open, and I could see this casket just laying in the room. But it wasn't an ordinary casket. It was like a casket with a glass covering, and I was instantly inside the room. And I couldn't see inside the casket. I just saw the glass covering. And what was so weird is that there was like this ventilation tube hooked up to the casket. It was the same type of ventilation machine that you would see like in a hospital room. And on the left side of the ventilation machine there was a cauldron, like a burning pot, just sitting there, and I don't know what was inside of it, but it was burning. And I noticed that there was a man standing next to the cauldron, and he was dressed in all black, and he was stirring the cauldron, just stirring at it. He didn't say anything to me, and I didn't say anything to him. I just noticed that he was just stirring it. And on the side of him, the left side of him, there was a body just laying there under a white sheet. And all of a sudden he started cutting up the body that was under the sheet, and pulling out the body parts and throwing them into this burning cauldron. And I remember it saying in the dream, like, don't breathe through your nose, don't breathe through your nose. I just kept repeating it because I didn't want to smell it, and that's when the dream, it shifted to where I was in the hallway again. And this time I was walking towards the front of the hallway where the singing was coming from. So as I started walking towards the door, it just opened up, and it appeared to be like this large church. And it was like I entered through the back of the church, because everyone's back was towards me, and they were all just clapping. And I noticed that they were like dressed really nice, everyone was dressed really nice, and they were just clapping and singing, and they seemed kind of oblivious and not caring. But as I started walking through the church, I noticed that people were looking at me like I was, just condescending looks at me, and just like I didn't belong there. And so as I continued walking through the church, I remember sitting on a pew, and on my right side was this large window, and I could see right outside the window. It was the window was large. It was just like the windows you would see in an expensive hotel. And I noticed that outside the window there was like a beach. It looked just like a beach resort, that if you were like on like the 6th floor or something, or like the 7th floor, and you looked out your window and you could see the scenery and just like see everything. I saw people on the beach, and they were just relaxing and almost like they didn't have a care in the world. But I saw in the sky that the storm was brewing, and they were just continuing just to sitting on the beach and just relaxing. And I remember saying in the dream, wow, God's judgment is coming. And when I said this, I noticed that this guy was sitting on the left side of me in the pew, and there was also this woman on the right side of me. And the guy says to me, God's judgment is coming, and the leaders of the church are the worst. And when he said this, it was like the dream shifted like really quickly, and I was standing outside this time, and I was on the beach. And this time, the dream was so chaotic. I mean, I can't even put into words the chaos on, like, and the horror on people's faces. They were running left and right, you know. Some people were running out of the water, and they were trying to run out of the water. But when they tried to, I remember the waves just crashing in and pulling them out into the sea, and it was like they were engulfed under the water. And one lady stuck out to me as she was like, it was like she was running towards me, and she was screaming, "Help, help," just to the top of her lungs. But there was nothing I could do. I just noticed that the water overtook her and pulled her out to sea. And I also noticed, as I was, you know, walking in the midst of this chaos, I was looking for my wife, you know, and I had a cell phone in my hand for some reason. And when I opened up the cell phone, I saw the numbers 311. And in the dream, I instantly thought about Revelation 3:11, when it says, you know, "Behold, I come quickly." It was like it was instantly in my mind. And when I closed the phone, it was like a silver trumpet was in my hand. It just like transformed into a silver trumpet. And this time I was hovering over the chaos. I could see people just screaming back and forth, back and forth. They were just fighting each other, and it was almost a look of insanity, you know, if that, just a word to compare what I saw. But I remember blowing the trumpet. I blew the trumpet 3 times, and each time I blew the trumpet, it was like the sky reacted to the sound of the trumpet, and it sounded just like a shofar, like exactly like a shofar. But the trumpet that I had didn't resemble a shofar at all. But each time I blew the trumpet, the sky, it almost like growled, like the way thunder sounds, but it was beyond that. It was, fear wasn't even the type of word to describe what I saw and the feeling that was running through me. And the dream shifted again, and this time I was standing on the ground, and this time I could see people's faces like up close, and their faces resembled like I was saying before, insanity, but it was beyond that. It was like they were soulless, you know, if you can imagine that, like a zombie almost, a zombie that was like twitching. Every person, they were like twitching as if they were like hungry, but insane at the same time. And I remember standing in front of this door, and it was like I was guarding it, and they were trying their best to get inside this door. It was almost like if any of you have ever seen have ever seen the movie War of the Worlds. There was a scene in the movie where you know, Tom Cruise and his son and his daughter were driving in their van, and you know, Tom Cruise told his son, you know, to avoid the main streets, and he fell asleep. And when he woke up, he was in the midst of like all these people, and he had the only working van in the movie. And the way that they reacted, they started hitting the van and started just acting insane. It was almost the same way, because behind me there was a van, and I guess it was the only way of escape. So the dream ended with me and my wife, and we have a little dog. Even our dog was in the van with us, and we drove off, and that was the end of the dream. I just wanted to post this dream, not only to encourage the bride of Christ to stay close to the Lord, but I wanted to post this in obedience because God's judgment is at the door, and this is like the hour where we have to cling to the Lord like never before, because this world is so wicked and it's so evil. And I just wanted to post this to encourage everyone to stay sober, keep your eyes on Jesus, because He's truly coming soon. God bless you guys, and see you soon.